Mr Chair.
Call the Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr Chair, can I acknowledge the contribution from both Claire Curran, from all of Claire Curran, Clayton Mitchell and Ruth Dyson. I think one of the things that I would reflect on over the last 6 years where a number of us have had to deal with situations in Christchurch has been the fact that Parliament itself has been unanimous in providing support to the city, whether it was by way of the initial legislation or the most recent legislation, or in fact a number of things on the way between. And one thing I think we can be sure of is that while this bill is before us now and has had considerable thought put into it, it won't be the last time that we have to think about the way in which there is a response to any particular civil emergency. So it is, at this point, a best efforts, and I don't mean that in any way that's going to downplay the contribution of people. It's just the fact that we work off the experience that's been before us at the present time. The question that Ruth Dyson raised about the ongoing planning, etc., and the two positions that are taken, I think it was more semantic than fact. The reality is that prescribing, as the SOP from Claire Curran does, the task that's required in making sure that there is a risk plan, basically a plan for recovery at risk, is one that we will support this evening, quite obviously, because it adds to the importance of the work that so many people commit themselves to throughout New Zealand in the absence of any particular civil emergency. So they do need to have an understanding that the whole Parliament supports the work they do. Many of them will go about their training exercises, their long hours of commitment to what might happen in a field, and some of them will never ever see a natural disaster. While that might be a good thing, the comforting thing is that we do have people out there who are trained to respond and to keep things ticking over. And we had sort of two situations in Christchurch. One, we had the more local emergency split across 3 counties in the September 4, 2010 event, where I think you would say the response, while excellent from the individuals concerned, because of the structures that were in place at the time, was not quite as good as it could be. And that's not a bad thing to say that. It's just an indication that you can learn a lot from those situations, and in many ways what we've got in front of us today does pick up on that. Claire Curran mentioned the need to have a big plan for when you have great big disasters. It's going to be interesting to engage in that discussion in the months ahead, largely because everyone will have a slightly different view about what you do. My own view on it is, for what it's worth in response to the issue you've raised, is that if it is a very big disaster, Parliament will want to have, I think, some say at some point in what will be the exceptions to any law that might be necessary to recover from that disaster. And that may be different according to different disasters. So while I don't discount the fact that we probably will get a bill that provides a blueprint, I think you can never totally discount the fact there might be a need for Parliament to come together at those times and to set aside some things that would be usually done in order to make greater progress for the wider number of people. And you can't anticipate that, and nor should we. But the structures of response, I think we can get a lot stronger, and I'm sure that the goodwill that this Parliament has, given the experiences that so many of us have had in local areas, floods, other big weather events, and then coming to understand, as many of us do now, the fact that in New Zealand you essentially live with your risk, is going to mean that we will be much more interested in getting a bill that we can all subscribe to and give that support to those people in the field who are required to deliver on it.
Mr Chairman.